This is going to be a really good video, guys. This is going to be all about how to injury proof your body. All right, how to drop body fat and do it with being pain free. So tonight I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Matt Longfellow. This guy's an awesome physical therapist as well as a chiropractor. So get ready. If you are on a fitness journey, you want to drop body fat, you want to get in super good shape, but you want to do it without injuring yourself, without, a lot of pain, joint pains, lower back, knee pains, things like that we tend to go through. In this video, I'm going to be talking to Matt all about all the good stuff. So as y'all jump on, let me know where you're watching from. Lamisha, what's up? D, what's up? Brandon, what's up? Let me know where y'all are watching from. All right, Matt, I see you jumping on right now. All right, let us know where y'all are watching from as y'all jump on. Matt, what's up, man?
Jay, what's up, brother?
How you doing?
Good, man. Just finished up watching some Stranger Things with my girl. How are you?
Nice. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I just got done eating, and so
I
I'm feeling good right now. I'm like all the way on point.
love it, man.
Yeah. Well, I want to first off, I want to say I appreciate you taking some time out to jump on with me right now, just to kind of spread some knowledge about your expertise. From my understanding, you're not just a physical therapist, you're also a chiropractor too, right?
No,
I
I'm just
think.
just a physical
Physical
therapist.
therapist.
Yep.
That's perfect. Love it. That's awesome. And so I know you talk so much about like the back, and so I was like, is he also a chiropractor? But that's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah,
So
it's back. I mean, that comes from, my own personal struggle with back pain. Before I was a PT, what led me into PT was I had chronic back pain for, 4 or 5 years of my life, and that
mm,
led to my own personal struggle with, getting fat and gaining weight and all sorts of health and fitness battles I had to kind of figure myself out. So that's where the passion from back pain comes from.
gotcha. And we're gonna dive into that too, because I want to know more about that backstory. But
Good.
before we dive in, a lot of people may not even know what a physical therapist is. And so give us like what exactly is a physical therapist, and when should somebody consider seeking a physical therapist if when they're in a certain part of their journey.
Yeah, that's a good question, man. So the way I think about it, physical therapist is really a movement and pain expert. And so kind of what I do, I guess, would be a good way to kind of segue into that. When someone comes to me, I'm not just going to talk about, the site of injury. I want to kind of understand what's really going on with that person as a whole. So we're going to talk about not only what actually hurts, but
Mm,
their, fitness background, their training background, their health background, their stress, their job, that, get a whole picture of what's going on with their health and lifestyle.
right.
Pain's a really complex thing. So a good physical therapist is going to take the time to really understand the whole picture behind the pain,
Right.
really dig into, what the many contributors may be, and then we can kind of build a plan from there.
Gotcha. So what type of person do you feel like, or from just your experience, do you believe should seek out a physical therapist? Like what type of things could they possibly be experiencing to say I need to go reach out to a physical therapist?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. So I think a couple of things. I think for probably most of the people that are watching this, I would assume are, people into working out, being active and taking care of themselves. So
Yeah.
what distinguishes, when do you need a physical therapist versus when can like a personal trainer or a fitness expert help you out? If it's something as
Right.
simple as your technique or changing your exercises and things like that and you're pain free, then that's something probably a fitness expert can handle. But if you try changing technique and changing loading and changing everything you and the trainer know to try, and still you're having pain and nothing's really helping, then that's probably a better situation for a physical therapist or someone who can kind of help figure out exactly what's causing the pain beyond just a technique issue or something like that.
I gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. And so it's like people need to know, okay, is it like a actual pain, like a joint pain or a muscle pain, versus like are they just needing to get stronger kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things to kind of distinguish that, or things I talk with my clients a lot about. Number one, we got to answer the question first and foremost: is there something actually damaged, or is this just like an irritation of some sort? And a
Mm,
nice way to kind of distinguish between that is most people that I work with, often movement is going to make it better. So we sit around, we're working on our computers all day, we're
ooh,
inactive. A lot of times, that's going to create a lot of issues and pain. But then most often,
right.
we get up, we move around, we change positions, things tend to feel better. And so if movement makes it better, I tell people movement is what it needs. It's probably not a damage or a serious type of issue if movement is making things better.
Ooh, that's powerful. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people think about it that way. Like moving being, I think I seen somewhere it was like exercise is the new medicine,
Mhm.
and I just think about what you just said, like moving, like just sitting in the house. I think nowadays everyone's so sedentary. Have you seen like patterns of this? People who just sit down for long periods of time, having a lot of different issues, whether it's lower back, knees, and things like that.
All the time, man. I mean, especially with
Yeah,
the COVID thing going on, the past couple of years. And
yeah.
so I have in addition to some online coaching that I do, I've got a cash physical therapy office in Columbus, Ohio, where I see a
Hmm.
lot of people in person.
Yeah.
And I saw a big spike when COVID started in back pain, knee pain,
Oh,
shoulder.
wow.
And really, the reality was a lot of people were in situations where they were kind of, stuck at home. They were working from home. They couldn't go to the gym. They didn't have the social outlets. They weren't as active because we just couldn't be active and be out and, living our normal lifestyles. And so that
Yeah.
lack of movement for a lot of people and that sedentary shift created a lot of issues. And the big thing is we as human beings are designed to move, and I think we operate by a simple rule: use it or lose it. Right? If we're not using our body and moving it in the way that we need to on a consistent basis, we're going to get
Right.
stiffer, tighter, and have all sorts of issues. And so you said it earlier. Movement is the best medicine, and a sad thing that I hear is a lot of people who have aches and pains, the first thing health professionals or doctors tell them to do is just to rest and take it easy, which often is the worst advice.
Ooh. Right. Right. I can see that. Yeah. Let's segue because I know people they're listening. I see some people questioning as well. Like put some questions down in the question box. Before we dive into the nitty gritty, I want to go into your story, your backstory, before you became Dr. Matt. All right. And so, like, how was like childhood? Were you always into fitness? Were you always into like exercise? Like,
Yeah,
what led you up to this point?
yeah, no, that was I think an evolution. I think where it started was high school athletics. I was growing up, I was very much a mediocre athlete and was kind of always the skinny fat kid. And getting into high school football, I got really into strength training and weightlifting, and I was one of the stronger kids on the team, though I wasn't the greatest athlete. I really
Nice.
excelled in the weight room and just found my passion for weight training
Yep.
in that environment. And as I graduated high school, got into college, kind of wanted that competitive outlet. So I got a lot more serious about my weight training. And as I got more serious and kind of more into like, powerlifting training and things like that, I kind of started to develop some back issues. And it started off, kind of minor, just sore when I was trained inside the court sort of thing. And then, over time, it just got worse and worse and worse to the
Right.
point where, I couldn't walk across campus some days without crippling back pain. So I would just skip
Ooh.
class. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I tried, stretches and chiropractors and massage and pain pills and resting. And no matter what
Wow.
I did, I felt good when I was resting and taking it easy. And then as soon as I thought I was better, back to the weight room and back to square one. And I just kept getting hurt
Oh,
in this cycle. And so kind of led into me just like completely withdrawing, like, I don't want to lift weights or work out because I know I'm going to hurt myself type deal.
right.
Then led into me putting on weight. As I got more and more heavy, and then I had libido issues. I had
Oh,
anxiety. I had a little bit of social withdrawal and depression. So this experience with back pain led into this whole like domino effect of just
yeah.
like really messed up a lot of my relationships and my friendships in a time period
Mm.
when I've been thriving as a 20 something year old kid. I
Yeah,
was
that's true.
back pain issue, and so that went on for a period of 4 or 5 years. And then finally, I was fortunate to meet a current friend who kind of introduced me to some different techniques and things that I now use with a lot of my clients to help them out who are in similar situations. And
Right.
as I learned some of these things, I kind of had to dig myself out of this hole. And that led me into physical therapy and strength and conditioning and everything I do now. And, now I'm in a
Yeah.
place where, I've been able to lose all the weight, take care of my back pain. I'm back to lifting. And that whole journey has led me into, doing what I do now, which is helping people who are dealing with the same problems.
Jeez, man, that's a heck of a story.
It was a long,
Right.
uh,
Well said though. Well said.
dude, I was
Um,
about him.
so you were lifting weights in high school, and I feel like I can relate. Like I wasn't like this superstar football player in high school. I went to high school with Cam Newton, like the guy who played quarterback in the NFL for quite some time, and I was like one of the hardest workers on the team, and I believe that was one of the things that kind of put me on the map with the coaches and everybody. But I resonated with that because you said you're super hard working. You lifted weights, and you weren't necessarily the best, but it gave you that edge to be able to play a game of football, right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so let's talk about that was it like 4 or 5 year time frame. I think you said your lower back started really hurting, start throwing off your routine. You kind of just said F it with the whole workout thing, and you gained some weight. And so how much weight did you end up gaining over that time frame?
So I kind of fluctuated for the most part.
Yeah.
Currently, I guess just for context, I'm about 170.
Okay.
My peak, I was at 220.
Okay. That's
Uh,
what, 50.
50 pounds.
Yeah.
I've pounds from the peak of it. But there, probably 3 or 4 years, I kind of fluctuated between like 195 to 210. And then when I really just said F everything, like that's when I kind of let myself go all the way to 220. And, it was
Mm,
really that time period. Again, I think I mentioned earlier, like I had some libido issues. I was with a girl at the time and things just weren't functioning the way they should. And
right, right.
being like, that led to us, there were some other issues, but eventually we split. And, that kind of was a wake up call for me. Like as a 20 something year old kid, that should not be happening. And so
Right.
I had to figure out how to get myself back together.
Mm. And so, because I'm pretty sure, like, I'm pretty confident, but I'm curious about your thoughts on this. How much having excess weight or just being overweight in general influences aches and pains that people tend to go through, like whether it's lower back, knees, and things like that. Like, how much of an impact have you seen just being a physical therapist, being in your field?
Oh, it's big time, man. Even for people who are in, relatively decent shape,
Yeah.
um, even having an extra 10, 15, 20 pounds on, more of an inflammation cycle that can kind of create a perpetual pain cycle,
Right,
um,
right.
especially for things that, weight bearing joints, so like your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips, even your lower back. I read a stat actually just the other day. I think for every pound that you're overweight, or for every extra pound that you're carrying, that's another 4 pounds of stress on your knees with every
Jeez.
take. So if you're 10 pounds extra weight, that's another 40 pounds of stress with every single step you take. So um, especially for someone who's dealing with, long-term persistent pain,
Yeah.
losing is a big thing to consider if you are carrying some extra weight. It can have huge.
Right. Wow, wow, wow,
Uh,
wow. I hope y'all are listening. Were
what's
you about to
that?
say something now? I was just talking to everybody who's watching. I hope y'all are listening to this. This is like real deal stuff because people who tend to let that weight just stick to them. They're just like, they just kind of put it off. They're like, I'm just not motivated, or maybe next year, maybe next month kind of thing. And then just over time, they end up having all these nagging knee injuries and lower back issues and things like that. I see a couple of people commenting. Somebody says, "Can you repeat that again about weight on the knees
Oh yeah.
part of it?"
The stat I read, for every extra pound of body weight that you're carrying, that puts, I think the number was 4 pounds of extra stress on your knees. So if you're 10 pounds carrying 10 pounds of extra weight, that's 40 pounds of extra stress on your knees. So even losing 5 or 10 pounds can have a huge impact on how your knees and how your load bearing joints feel.
Jeez. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I've seen that stat somewhere a while back. Yeah, so yeah, I'm totally right there with you on that.
Yeah, but
Um,
you mentioned, what kind of impact losing weight and getting lean can have on the persistent pain cycle.
mhm.
It reminded me of a guy that I finished up working with just a few weeks ago. Actually, he came to me in pretty decent shape. He liked to lift weights, was kind of your typical power lifter guy, but he had back pain, and that was going on for 4 or 5 years, and had put on some weight, and he'd done physical therapy training and this, that, and the other. And he came to me. I reviewed everything, and his training plan, his rehab plan, everything was pretty spot on, but no
Right,
one about his nutrition or his weight or his sleep or recovery, any of those things. And so I helped him kind of organize some of his rehab stuff, but more importantly, we got him on a solid nutrition plan. Number one, to help reduce the inflammation in his body, but then kind of dial protein, his macros and everything like that to get him losing weight. And within a period of, 8 weeks, I think it was, he's back to pain free.
wow. See, that's powerful. See, I've never really heard about any physical therapist talking about how important it is to dial in nutrition. Like that's something that I tell a lot of my members about. Like, listen, you jump in my program, we got to nail down this first, nutrition number one. But just hearing a physical therapist say it, like how important is having that nutrition dialed in to help people go from, let's say, maybe having a little bit of pain or being overweight, maybe have some back stiffness, knee pain or knee stiffness. How can proper nutrition really influence them getting to a better point in their life where they're not dealing with that stiffness or pain?
Yeah, man, good question. So, a lot of my colleagues physical think about this stuff either, but just like if your goal is to build muscle or strength or whatever,
Yeah,
you have to give your body adequate resources and nutrients to go towards building that muscle and promoting the fitness gains that we're after, right?
right.
So if we have, injured lower back or some type of tissue or muscle or something like that that's injured, our body has to allocate a certain number of resources to help heal and recover that injured tissue, right?
Right.
If our nutrition isn't dialed in, if we're not eating, the protein and carbs and everything we need to fuel that recovery cycle, it
Yeah.
can create chronic stress and pain cycle because your body's not getting the nutrients it needs to actually go recovery, right?
Right.
Two, food quality is huge, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of clients about this, but food quality, if we're eating a bunch of inflammatory foods, that's only going to further impair that healing process.
Ooh, that's so powerful. That's right. What have you seen as far as like the, the the quality of food? Like how much of a difference does it make? Have you seen how it differentiates as far as somebody who may be eating fairly clean versus someone who's eating poorly, and they may be on somewhat of a same type of physical therapy regimen to get to, let's say they're both having lower back pain and we're trying to get them to, not having that back pain anymore. Like, have you seen like somebody who has poor nutrition, somebody who has good nutrition, and how fast they progress?
Yeah, but I think pain is a complex thing, so there's
Yeah,
obviously a lot of things that factor into to what causes pain. But
yeah,
I would, in general, vast majority, I've been doing this for 10 years now. The vast majority of people that I see that do really, really well have their training dialed in. They have their sleep, their nutrition. They have like the whole lifestyle piece dialed in, and they're doing really well there.
mm,
The people who tend to struggle or not see the progress they're after, they're missing one of those pieces. And nutrition is a pretty common one, right?
I see.
Um,
Makes sense.
But the pattern I've seen is people who have the nutrition dialed in tend to have everything else dialed in too, because that's just the mindset they're in, right? They're taking care of
Yeah,
themselves. Um,
totally.
yeah, and fitness, like you get into a workout plan, you get into a solid nutrition plan, that tends to fuel like all these other good habits that we need to make progress, whether the goal is losing weight or building muscle or fixing your pain. All
Yeah,
these things play together, and if one factor is missing, it can throw the rest of everything else off.
totally. Ooh, man, this is like real game right here, y'all. I hope y'all are taking notes. I hope y'all have y'all paper and pen right now. We're talking to Dr. Matt Longfellow, about injury proofing your body. All right. How to drop weight pain free. All right. I see we got a couple of questions. We're going to get to the questions towards the end. Okay. Stick around. We're going to get to the questions towards the end. But I want to jump into some of the common mistakes that you see a lot of people making, Matt, like in terms of like exercise. What things do you see people are making mistakes with that are kind of setting them back to where they're not able to progress in the way they want to without having lingering pains or throwing their back out to get all together and not being able to exercise at all?
Yep, absolutely, man. So
Yeah.
I'll start general concept that I cover with a lot of my people, and get into a few specific things I see if that's.
Yeah.
So, in general, most injuries, pain problems tend to happen for one of two reasons. Either we do too much too soon or we do too little for too long, right?
Ooh.
So, common example is like a lot of couch to 5K programs. People who maybe are overweight or have some other issues that don't have much of a fitness background decide they want to get fit and go from doing nothing to a 5K in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Much too soon, right? They haven't given their body time to really adapt to that, so
Yeah.
they end up with overuse injuries, tendon
Right.
problems, muscle problems, you name it, just overuse problems, right?
Right.
Or too little for too long, right? We just rest, we take it easy, and going back to what I said earlier, we're designed as humans to use it or lose it. So if we're not using our body, our joints, our muscles through a full range of motion, things are going to break down and get more fragile.
Right. Damn, that's good, man. That's real good. I've kind of thought about it that way, but more so from a burnout standpoint. Because sometimes I'll get members who jump in, they'll drop like 2, 3, maybe 5 pounds in a matter of like 2 weeks, and like right then and there, they just go balls to the wall. They just try to go crazy hard in the gym, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa! It's cool. You don't have to go crazy hard in the gym just yet, because they're going from literally really not doing much at all to trying to go 7 days a week in the gym, sometimes twice a day. And I'm like, you don't necessarily have to do that just yet, you know.
Yep.
But totally makes sense though. Makes
Yep.
sense.
And a lot of my people, like, as soon as we get them to a place where they're feeling good and they've got some relief, they're like, I'm 100%, and they're back in the gym. And not to offend anybody who maybe is interested in CrossFit, but I see it a lot with my CrossFit people, right? They go from injured, whatever, we get working together, they start to feel good. And I tell them all the time, like, just because you feel good now doesn't mean you can go back and crush Fran or like one of your high intensity WODs right now, because we still got to build up your capacity and your endurance and your for that high intensity load, right?
That's good. What have you seen? Were you about to say something?
I was just gonna say, like, in general, like the highest risk stage of a rehab with most people I work with is as soon as they start to feel good and pain free, right? Because that's when they start to like forget about their pain and they just go back to doing a bunch of what they're doing. So I try to be very intentional with people about, like, once we get to this stage, you're not out of the woods. We still got to build you back up.
Ooh. What is that, like post rehab training or conditioning or something?
The strength training, man, it's good.
Training.
A little more specific, it's specific to whatever their needs are, right? So let's just go with back pain. A lot of people who are dealing with low back pain that I work with, we go through their initial rehab, basic, simple stuff, which is a lot of breath work, a lot of pelvic mobility and control, a lot of spine mobility type stuff, a lot of hip mobility. As we keep moving, then we transition them into more of a progressive strength training plan, because ultimately, if you're having aches, pains, injuries, strength training is the single best way to fix those things for the long term. Because really what you do is build that tissue back up, build up the strength and the load tolerance of that tissue.
Right.
Go ahead.
I have a question, because I noticed that a lot of times when people tend to have a pain or something, they go straight to wanting to stretch the muscle out, right? And then, like, sometimes the pain doesn't always get that better. And so what has been your experience? Like, should that person stretch those muscles, or should they start strengthening those muscles? Like, what do you normally see?
Yeah, so in 10 years, I haven't told a single person to stretch for, if you follow my feed at all, like, I'm not I wouldn't say anti-stretching, but I don't promote stretching.
Right.
The reality is, like, a lot of tightness issues and injury issues or a lack of flexibility is actually a stability issue. Okay.
Mm,
And I'll use an analogy to kind of explain that. Then I'll get into a little bit more specifics. But, you
right.
know, to understand this, what I tell them is, like, imagine you're climbing a rock wall, right? And you start to lose your footing and you're about to fall.
Right.
What are you going to do? You're going to grip like hell to hold on.
Yep.
Right. So as soon as you lose that stability and that footing, you're just searching for stability by tightening up whatever you can.
Ooh, that's a good analogy.
Your body's the same way, right? You have, this is simplifying the conversation, but two main types of muscles in your body: big muscles that move your body and little muscles that stabilize your body. Okay.
Right.
In most injuries or pain problems, the little muscles that stabilize aren't doing their job. So the big muscles that move, your hip flexors, your low back muscles, your hamstrings, your quads, all these big muscles start doing double duty. So now they're moving, but they're also stabilizing. So they get overloaded and feel tight and achy and painful all the time, right?
Gotcha.
So what stretching does that maybe gets people a little bit of relief, but not really fixing the problem, is it sends a signal to your nervous system, your brain, to say, hey, brain, just relax this for a minute and calm down. Foam rolling does the same thing. Massage, dry needling, anything is on is just saying, hey, brain, let this tension go.
Right. Right.
But until we load your body and give it a reason to actually learn to stabilize and build strength, it's going to continue to tighten up because it's a stability and a strength issue most often.
I see. And I've actually heard that before. I was curious on what your point of view was from it. And so that's spot on. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So early rehab stages, man, you said, am I going to tell them to stretch, or what am I going to tell them to do? It depends. It's very context specific, but I would say most people, gentle, pain-free, comfortable movement is going to help promote blood flow and recovery. And then back to what I said earlier, I use a lot of breath work, a lot of pelvic and spinal mobility and things like that. Get your body moving in ways that feel good. That's going to get things to calm down. And as soon as we're feeling good, then it becomes how to get you on a very strategic strength progression to meet you where your body is, and then build it up over time.
I'm curious. Those are good points. How important is breathing?
When we're talking about pain, especially if, neck pain, back pain, central pain, and I would say, most pain in general, breathing is such a powerful tool that I think, I'm starting to see a lot more, is getting a lot more attention in the mainstream. I'm not quite sure that many people really understand just the impact it can have or really how to utilize it most effectively. But to start, breathing is the one bodily function that we have conscious control over that has direct impact on the state of our nervous system. And so we have your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system, which parasympathetic is your rest and digest, like I'm chilling out, calm type of mode. Sympathetic, fight or flight, like I'm trying to run away from a lion type mode.
Right.
In our modern world, a lot of us are running very sympathetic and high stress, which perpetuates the pain cycle. And so the first major impact of breathing is it helps tone down that sympathetic and reduce that stress and drive more parasympathetic activity. And it's in this parasympathetic mode where our body is healing and recovering and building muscle and repairing injuries.
Oh, wow.
Right. So we get that switch to go from stress to, recovery type mode, but also going back to that stability, tightness type of conversation we just had. Breathing is the first thing we learn to do as babies when we're developing. And it's how we learn to stabilize our body. So our diaphragm, muscles, our pelvic floor, all these muscles we never think about. Breathing is the single best way to start to tap into those muscles, and getting that deeper core is what I call it. Getting the deep core to function the way that it should is going to help take the brakes off of the rest of your body.
Man, you got me over here breathing right now, thinking about my breathing. I'm like, let me breathe in my nose and blow it out.
It's big. So breathing, there's more to it than just breathing through your nose. We can actually strategic breathing to decompress your body from the inside out.
Right. So
process, but it is a very big piece, especially early on.
That's powerful, man. That is powerful. I'm glad you said that. Man, that's good. That's good. I'm hoping y'all are taking some notes. I'm over here taking notes. Like if y'all see me with my pen in my hand, it's because I'm taking notes. It makes sense. Meditation relaxes my
Yeah.
body 100%.
So
That's awesome.
I'll dive in a little deeper, and if there's questions we can certainly field those. But
Yeah.
again, like getting back to back pain. I mean, most commonly what I see: back pain, hip pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. Okay, and a lot of that stems from center. So your spine, rib cage is not moving the way that it needs to. So your neck, your back, your hips, your shoulders, all these things start to compensate, right?
Mm,
So think of it this way: like my shoulder, for example, has to move a certain amount to function
right.
like a shoulder, right?
Right.
If my shoulder only moves this way, this far, and I try to overhead press, I'm going to have some issues, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
So we don't think about this because we don't see it as clearly, but your rib cage has some movement to it as well, and your spine obviously as well.
Yeah.
But rib cage has to expand like a big balloon. So when I take a breath
Right.
from my neck to my waistline, not only is my belly and my chest expanding, and this is a big pet peeve of mine. A lot of PTs and healthcare professionals want to talk about belly breathing all the time.
Right.
Not just belly breathing, it's 360-degree breathing. Your belly, your chest, your sides, your back, it all has to expand and be able to move. And if
Mm,
the rib cage can't move the way that it needs to, see if I can't get this angle for y'all. If my rib cage can't expand the way that I need to, I'm going to start
mm,
to hold my rib cage here with my back in order to create that movement to get my breath in that I need,
right.
which now I'm using my back to breathe all day. That can create some back issues, some neck issues, all sorts of things. And so that's a big thing that I focus on with breathing early on is not only breathing to kind of relax and calm that nervous system, but to start to open up the rib cage and decompress the lower back, decompress the spine,
Ooh,
else moving.
man, that's good, man. You're like a physical therapy ninja. You, you know more than just getting the body to move around. It's like you can breathe. It's like the subtle things that most people don't really even think about.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to like rehab their body and just be able to allow their body to work optimally on a daily basis. It's
Absolutely, man.
super super good. That's awesome, man.
I think in the
Um,
mainstream, I think a lot of breathing type stuff turns people off because people get this impression that they got to spend 30, 40, 50 minutes just breathing, which is just not the case. The way
right.
I am it, we might have a little bit more of a focus on it early on in a rehab process, but I usually, my process is I'll give people 2 or 3 breathing type drills to work on for maybe 10 minutes once or twice a day is their kind of daily, like I call them your core foundations, your daily rehab exercises.
Right, right.
Strength training, I might have them warm up for 5 to 10 minutes with some breath work and some mobility, and then we're right into strength training.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. If you don't mind, let's share, if you're okay with it, share like let's say one of the strategies, breathing strategies that people could use, they could take away from this video and go into their workouts. Well, maybe before they start their workout, as far as like breathing, what could they do to I guess be more optimal going into the workout?
I'll give you 2 simple things. Number one, one thing I like to have a lot of folks do is get on, I don't care what it is, your favorite piece of cardio equipment, whether that's a bike or a rower, treadmill, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Set a timer. Five minutes is usually what I do because all I'm after is like a little sweat and just some breath practice. Set
Right.
that time, and then you're gonna work as hard as you can on that piece of cardio equipment. The only catch is lips are sealed, tongue is on the roof of your mouth, and you're breathing through your nose only the entire time.
Okay.
So I flirt with this line where like I'm breathing through my nose, but if I went any harder, I would have to breathe through my mouth. That's kind of where we want to be.
Ooh, that's a good point. Okay.
Right
I
now, we're
like
working
that one.
diaphragm, we're working deep core, we're working all that stuff, but we're also by limiting it to your nose only, we're preferentially getting an aerobic type of stimulus. Which, when we're dealing with pain and things like that, we want more aerobic stuff because that's more parasympathetic. It's going to promote more recovery and blood flow.
Ooh,
Whereas start mouth breathing, now we're into more stressful things, which is not a
right.
bad. But early on, we want more of those low stress recovery type activities.
Oh, that's good, man.
So nose only breathing with your cardio warm ups. The other piece is you can lie on your belly and just rest your forehead on your hands. This is just a starting point just to get people some awareness. But again, you're breathing through your nose only while you lie on your belly, and you're just focusing on feeling your belly expand into the ground and your back start to expand as well. Okay. It's called crocodile breathing. Look it up on YouTube. You'll see a million different videos. Crocodile breathing is a place to start. It's a starting point. It's not the end all be all, but it is a nice starting point.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome, man. Ooh, impressive. Good deal. Well, I know we're right at what 36 minutes in, and if you got maybe 5 or 10 more minutes, we can do some quick Q&A.
For sure.
Cool. Yo, guys, if y'all are feeling this, if y'all are digging this content, because Matt, this dude, he's a real physical therapist. This isn't just somebody off the street. He's a doctor. So share the video with 5 people. Hit that arrow. Share the video with 5 people. Let's get some more people on. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments or hit that little question mark bubble at the bottom, and we're gonna get these questions answered. Okay.
My phone's about to die, so give me 1 second, okay?
Okay. Let's see. Do you look like you put like 2 or 3 questions in here? Yo, let me know down in the comments. Drop a yes if y'all been finding this very, very helpful. Let me know if you've been finding it helpful down in the comments below. Let's get some engagement, guys. Y'all know how I like to do. All right, so since D put her question in here, let's see, I do lower back pain.
I'm back, Jay.
Cool. So here's one. It says, I deal with lower back pain as well as sciatica pain. Do I need a PT or a chiropractor? Stretches are a temporary fix. What do you think about that?
Yeah, good question. So for anybody out there who doesn't understand what sciatica is, that's basically, sciatica is it's a symptom. It's not a diagnosis. And all sciatica means is you have pain radiating from your back down into your leg somewhere. It can be your hip, it can be your hamstring, it can be your calf. But it's pain radiating down your leg from your lower back. It can be caused by nerve issues. It can be a back issue. It can be a hip issue. It can be a lot of different things. So that's kind of what that is. Now, do I want to go to a chiropractor or a physical therapist? I would say in general, and this is broadly speaking, a physical therapist is probably better suited to do that. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a physical therapist, but most chiropractors that you go to, traditional anyways, aren't going to do anything except for put you on a table and crack your back and send you on your way, right? Which is fine, and it may feel good, but if you've been listening to this conversation, movement and strength is the answer, right? All an adjustment or a crack in your back does is it sends a temporary signal to your nervous system, your brain, to say, hey, relax things and take the pressure off, right? But until we get your body moving differently, it's going to continue to happen repetitively, which is why if you go to a chiro and it feels good and it keeps coming back, that's why that's happening, because you're not addressing the issue. Okay, so a physical therapist, a good physical therapist anyway, is going to evaluate you. They're going to figure out why or where it's coming from. Is it a back? Is it a nerve? Is it your hip? What's going on? And they're going to give you a good movement plan to start to address it and actually fix it at the cause. But here's the catch. I said I'm not saying just a physical therapist because I'm biased. A good physical therapist and a good chiropractor are pretty damn similar. They're going to evaluate you. They're going to figure out what's going on. They're going to check your movement. So I think here's the takeaway. Whether you go to a PT or a chiro, whoever you go to, if they're not evaluating your movement and asking you questions and really diving into like what's actually going on, you're probably better served going somewhere else.
That's good. That's real good.
The thing she said, Jay, was stretching, especially with sciatica, often stretching can actually make things worse. Ooh. So I would not stretch your hamstrings or do any of that type of stuff. I would not stretch your lower back out, especially like a knees to chest type of stretch, unless you've been evaluated by someone and they give you the okay to do that. Because some situations that can be helpful, but most sciatic situations, knees to chest stretching of your low back, a lot of bending and hamstring stretching might feel good, but it's actually making the problem worse.
Interesting. Yeah, that's good to know. Let's see what another question is right here. What about knee pain? And so, yeah, it's kind of broad, but let's say, for example, somebody may be having some knee pain from, let's say, doing some squats or lunges or deadlifts? Like, what are like some common things that cause knee pain?
Yeah, good question. So in general, the first thing I would be looking at is activity levels before the injury, before the pain started, and where they've been as the injury kicked in. Okay. Most often, at least what I see, is a lot of knee issues tend to be issues where I went from doing, back to what we talked about earlier, not a lot to doing a lot. So I had a guy this week come in. He went from zero activity basically to playing pickleball like 5 times a week. Had some knee pain. Couch to 5K program is pretty common. So I think that's the first place to be checking and thinking about. Foot strength and stability. So if you're someone who's like arches are collapsing all over the place,
Right.
that's a big thing to look at, because if the foot can't support things, the knee is going to take that load. Hip mobility can play a big role. But I think one of the biggest things and misconceptions in the healthcare industry in general that creates or contributes to a lot of knee pain is this whole idea that we should never put our knees over our toes when we're squatting or training. And that's like the biggest piece of BS that I've ever heard, because the reality is, like, you're going up and down stairs, you're squatting, you're running, whatever you're doing, your knees are going over your toes, and your knees were made to do that. It's perfectly natural and fine. But if we avoid it all the time because some doctor who's never touched the weight told us to do so, our knees get weak in that position. And then when we try to go there, they get painful.
Because it doesn't have that range of motion anymore.
It doesn't have that load tolerance, right? So
Right.
load tolerance, I've said that a couple times. Easy way to think about that, let's say I'm deadlifting, right? But the most I've ever deadlifted is 135 pounds. And then tomorrow I decide I'm going to try 300. I might have some issues because I haven't developed the load tolerance to handle that, right? My body's not strong enough, right? So
that's
load tolerance, so load tolerance is position specific. If I never put my knees over my toes, I don't have the load tolerance in that position. So if I go and do an activity that demands that position, I don't have that tolerance, and eventually I'm going to have some issues because I've not trained to be strong there.
Ooh, that's powerful.
Okay.
That's
so yeah, for sure, man. Simple approach. Most knee situations, we're looking at, some hip and core stuff, but in general, I'll start with some isometrics. So some split squat isometrics, where you just drop into a split squat with your knee as far over your toes as you're comfortable, and just hold that position for, a few rounds of 30 seconds.
Right.
And then we're going to move into some single leg work. So step up, split squats, things like that, goblet squats, and just build up the strength there.
Ooh, that's so good. Yeah, I think there's been more studies coming out about that. I seen I think there's even a guy on Instagram. He's like knees over toe guy or something like that. Have you seen that before? Yeah. And when I seen it, I was like, whoa, is that good?
Yep. He's got some good stuff for sure. But again, it's a very general approach. So I've seen a lot of people have success with that type of program, but a lot of people who didn't. So if someone tries that and they're not seeing success, in all likelihood, they just need a more specific approach.
Right. More like specific and unique to them, their situation.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Makes total sense. Yo, Matt, man, this has been awesome. This has been an amazing video. I appreciate you. Man, what can you leave the people with? What can you leave everybody with? Like, just injury proofing their body. That's like the whole topic of this video. What's like 2 or 3 action steps that they can leave from this video if they, maybe they're not going through any type of pain and they just want to avoid it altogether, moving forward as they, 10 years from now, 15, 20, 30 years from now, they're still going to be exercising. What are like 2 to 3 action steps that they can take leaving this video to stay on track?
Yeah. Big things. For one, stay moving, stay active. Biggest thing I see with people who have been injured or are dealing with pain is they're told to rest and take it easy. And that creates this perpetual cycle where they're resting and they feel okay when they're resting, but if they try to get active and it hurts again, right? So we got to stay moving. We got to stay active. So even if you are currently dealing with pain, do what you can. Just move in ways that feel good. It can be walking. It can be jogging. It can be riding a bike. It can be some basic mobility work. Just stay as possible. And as you start to feel better, then you can work your way back into higher intensity things like weight training and just gradually build yourself back up. Okay.
Right.
So step one. Step two, or I guess tip number two, would be pay attention to recovery. Recovery is a broad thing, but make sure we're sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night. Make sure our nutrition is dialed in. Make sure
Right.
you're drinking plenty of water. Make sure you're managing stress. Make sure you're hanging out with people that fill you up and light you up and do things that make you smile. Right? That stuff's super
Ooh,
important.
okay. Right. Ooh, that's powerful.
Number three, I think the best thing you can do to really bulletproof or injury proof your body for life is be on a very good, well-designed strength training plan. Okay. And there's a lot out there, a lot of garbage that frankly more harm than good. A good strength training plan is going to be one that you can be consistent with, that you find sustainable and enjoyable, and that
Right.
leaves you feeling good when you're done. Okay.
Yes.
We can talk specifics and splits and all those sorts of things. Everybody's got their own opinions, and they
Right.
all, as long as they're written for the person that they're written for.
Right. It has to be personalized to them.
Uh-huh.
Man, that's powerful. Any thought about spending five times a week regarding hip and knee and doing it too much?
I see lots of people that spin a lot. It just is a matter of is your body prepared for that? So if you've been doing that for a long period of time and you feel okay with it, it's totally fine. But if you're going from once or twice a week up to 5 times a week, probably not the best idea. But you can certainly get there. You could just, if you're at twice a week, maybe you go a few weeks where you're going 3 times a week, then a few weeks at 4, then a few weeks at 5, and just build your way up. But the biggest thing is don't go from 0 to 100.
Yeah. Man, Matt, this is been gold, pure gold. I'm gonna go back to watch this replay. This is good, man. I appreciate you. And with that said, man, I will be talking to you Friday. We'll be catching up Friday.
Yep.
And with that said, I appreciate you. And if there's anything you need from me, feel free to let me know. And I'm always here for you, brother. Okay.
I appreciate you having me, and anybody, here today, or watching this video,
Yeah.
you can pop over and, send me a message on Instagram
Yeah.
or specific advice.
Yeah. State your Instagram handle. Is it only they can find you only on Instagram, or is there other areas they can find you?
Instagram is going to be the best place. It's where I'm most active. My handle is Dr. So Dr. Period Matt Longfellow. That's 2 T's. Dr. Matt Longfellow.
Perfect. Yeah, because I'm actually gonna put this on YouTube as well. And
Okay.
so let's say your IG handle one more time so they can hear it. Because I think I was talking over you.
You're good, man. So yeah, IG handle, if you guys want to pop over, give me a follow or want any more specific advice, is Dr. Matt Longfellow. Matt is with 2 T's.
Love it. Appreciate it, man. Well, with that said, man, we're out of here, brother. I don't want to hold you any longer than we have to.
Fun, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. I'll talk soon.
All right, man. Have a good one. See you guys. Thanks for coming.
Peace.